As the seasons turned, so did the world around the Sand People. The once familiar landscape began to change. The rains that once nourished the land came less often, and the animals they hunted grew scarcer. But despite these challenges, the Sand People remained deeply connected to their ancient ways. Their bond with the earth and the wisdom passed down through generations anchored them through uncertainty. They knew that as long as they carried the knowledge of their ancestors, they could survive anything. Nala and Kato, the youngest of their people, would soon learn that change was inevitable, but their strength lay in the traditions and spirit that lived on within them. The morning air was cool and crisp as Nala and Kato sat in a small clearing beneath a large baobab tree. The branches, twisted and ancient, stretched out like the arms of their ancestors watching over them. Elder Nuru, seated on a woven mat, watched the children with wise eyes, her weathered hands resting in her lap. The sky above was clear, and the early sun bathed the earth in a soft, golden glow.
The world is always changing, children. Just as the seasons shift, so too does the land and the way we live. But while the world around us may change, our roots run deep.
But how do we protect what we know when everything around us is changing? How can we hold on to the old ways when the land is different?
Her voice carried the anxiety of uncertainty, her heart yearning to understand. Elder Nuru smiled gently, her eyes softening as she looked at the two young ones before her. She had lived through many changes herself and knew that this was a question that each generation would ask.
By remembering who we are the children of the earth. The land speaks to us and the spirits guide us as they have always done. If we listen closely, we will never lose our way. The knowledge of our ancestors is a gift that cannot be taken by time or change. It is up to you to carry it forward.
The Sand People had witnessed many changes over the thousands of years. Shifts in the land, in the weather, and in the ways of the world. Yet their bond with the earth remained as constant and enduring as the stars in the night sky, guiding them through every challenge. This sacred connection, passed down through their stories, dances, and rituals, gave them the strength to endure whatever came their way. Nala and Kato would one day inherit this responsibility, to safeguard this ancient wisdom and pass it down to future generations, ensuring that the spirit of the San people would continue to thrive, no matter how the world around them changed or what the future held. Later that afternoon, the heat of the sun pressed down gently on the wide expanse of the plains. The grasses swayed softly in the warm breeze, their golden tips glistening under the high sun. Nala and Kato wandered through the tall grass, their bare feet whispering against the earth with each step. There was a deep stillness in the air, a calm that wrapped around them like a blanket. Yet beneath this peace, both could sense the subtle shifts in the land, the quiet changes that their people had spoken of, changes that whispered of a future unknown. The acacia trees dotted the horizon, their crooked branches stretching skyward, casting long shadows that danced with the wind. Overhead, the occasional bird soared lazily, its silhouette drifting across the plains. The Sand People had always described the earth as living, breathing, and connected to every creature that walked upon it. The land was not just a place to live, it was a presence, a heartbeat that tied them all together. Nal felt that now as her hand rested against the earth, the faint echo of life beneath her skin. She closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the quiet hum that seemed to rise from the ground itself, a rhythm that had guided her ancestors for generations.
Do you think the spirits still walk with us, Kato? Even when the land changes like this?
The changes in the land weighed heavily on her heart. The grass wasn't as tall as it once was, and the animals were harder to find. She wondered if the spirits, those who had guided her people for so long, still walked beside them. Had the earth changed so much that even the ancestors could no longer walk the same path?
I think so. Elder Nuru says they're always with us, guiding us. Maybe the land is changing because the spirits want to show us something new, something we haven't learned yet.
His voice carried a quiet determination, though uncertainty lingered beneath it. He wanted to believe in the stories, in the connection they had with their ancestors. But the changes around him made it hard to hold on to that belief. Kato's words echoed through the stillness, carrying with them a sense of hope. Perhaps the land wasn't just changing because it was moving away from them. Perhaps it was guiding them towards something they had yet to discover, a lesson hidden within the shifting earth. The ancestors had always been there, walking beside them in silence, offering their wisdom through the movements of the wind, the call of the birds, and the sway of the grasses. Perhaps now, more than ever, the spirits were calling them to listen more closely, to see beyond what was visible and to trust the land's subtle signs. Nal smiled softly at Kato's words, feeling a sense of comfort settle within her. Maybe he was right. Maybe the spirits were still there, waiting for them to understand a new way of walking the earth. She stood up, brushing the dirt from her hands, and the two continued to walk, their steps light, in rhythm with the land beneath them. As they walked, the connection between them and the earth became more tangible. Every footstep felt like part of a larger rhythm, a song that stretched back through the generations, tying them to their ancestors and to the land. The future was uncertain, but Nala and Kato knew they were not alone. The spirits of their people, the wisdom of the earth, and the stories passed down through the ages would guide them forward. The land may change, but their connection to it, and to those who came before, remained unbroken. Nala looked over at Kato, her heart lighter now, as they moved in sync with the rhythm of the earth. The future lay before them, vast and unknown, but together they would face it, guided by the spirits, by the land, and by the legacy of the San people. As the evening began to settle in, Nala and Kato stood at the edge of the village, watching the sun dip low on the horizon. The sky was painted in soft hues of orange and pink, and the vast plains seemed to glow under the fading light. The air was warm, but there was a gentle breeze that carried with it the familiar scent of the earth, rich soil, dry grass, and the distant hint of smoke from the village fire. They stood in silence for a moment, side by side, feeling the warmth of the sun on their faces and the steady pulse of the earth beneath their feet. In that moment, they felt connected, not just to each other, but to everything that had come before and everything that would come after.
We will keep our traditions alive, Nala. Just like Elder Nuru said, no matter what changes, we'll carry our people's wisdom forward.
Yes, we will. For our people and for the land. We owe it to them, to all those who came before us and all those who will come after.
As the sun set and the horizon glowed with the promise of a new day, Nala and Kato stood at the threshold of a future shaped by both change and tradition. They understood, with growing clarity, that they were part of something far greater than themselves, a legacy that spanned countless generations, flowing like an unbroken river through time. The wisdom of their ancestors would be their guiding light, just as the stars had led their people through the vast plains and deserts for thousands of years. Though the land around them might shift and evolve, the spirit of the San people would endure, living on in the hearts of those who remembered the old ways and who listened carefully to the earth's quiet, ancient whisper. In that whisper, they would find the strength and knowledge to face whatever the future held. The stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky, just as they had for millennia, watching over the Sand people as they continued their journey through life. Nala and Kato sat by the fire, their minds filled with the lessons of the day. The crackling flames sent up sparks that danced into the night, joining the stars above. They shared a quiet moment, knowing that the future might bring new challenges, but also feeling the unshakable strength that came from their traditions. The stories, the dances, and the wisdom of their ancestors would always be there, a guiding force as they moved forward into the unknown.
We will carry the stories with us, always.
And the land will remember.
And so, the story of the Sand people continued, passed lovingly from one generation to the next, like the steady flow of water shaping the landscape. Though the world around them shifted, rivers changing course, the land growing drier, and the animals becoming harder to find, the spirit of the San remained deeply rooted in the earth, as steadfast as the mountains and as eternal as the sky. Their connection to the land was woven into the very fabric of the soil, the wind and the stars above. No matter how much time passed or how the land evolved, their footsteps would continue to echo through the sands of time, carried on the wind, whispering their legacy to those who came after, ensuring their story, their wisdom, and their way of life would never be forgotten.